14. Strangest things hidden in American deserts. But first, thanks Chris McLean for leaving us this comment on our Most Mysterious Islands video. Seems like a lot of you guys thought the Island of the Dolls was the creepiest. Let us know which thing you think is the strangest here in this video, and maybe we'll feature you in an upcoming video. Number 14. Giant arrows. If you go hiking through the Arizona desert, you might come across these mysterious arrows that might seem like they would lead you to somewhere secret or a hidden treasure. They've actually been spotted all across America's southwest and measure about 70 feet in length. Some people have traveled across the desolate American deserts trying to photograph them. It turns out they aren't quite as mysterious as you would think, and the answer seems to make sense. In 1911, the United States Post Office set up these enormous concrete arrows in order to help direct airplanes west for them to deliver mail. It was almost like GPS before satellites in a way. Number 13. Secret swimming pool. Somewhere in the vast Mojave Desert lies a secret swimming pool, and no, it's not a mirage. This was built by an Austrian artist in southeastern California, and to get there, you're gonna have to explore Google Maps because he's not giving up its exact location. After the hike through the unforgiving terrain, a swimming pool seems quite nice. If you're up for a good challenge, go ahead and look for it, but it won't be easy. Some claim that the secret swimming pool has been destroyed by a bunch of jerks, so don't be too disappointed if it's in bad condition. Number 12. Aliens? The Nevada desert is possibly one of the creepiest deserts in the world, for good reasons. There is just miles upon miles of absolute nothing, and if aliens were to hide somewhere, this would be the perfect place. Only about 26.3 people per square mile make Nevada home, and much of the land is just uninhabitable. If you head a few hours north of Las Vegas, you run into some locals who are quite convinced that UFOs are in the Nevada desert. They've dedicated some stores to be alien-themed. Here you'll see Area 51 Alien Center. Others claim that after the Roswell crash, the government stored pieces of the crashed alien aircraft as well as the alien body at the Area 51 military base not too far away. Drive through the Nevada desert and you'll just notice something slightly off about this place. Number 11. The Clown Motel. Another reason the Nevada desert is a tad unsettling is due to the fact that there's a Clown Motel here. Not just any Clown Motel, but it's also located right next to a cemetery in the city of Tonopah. This tiny little isolated town is located between Las Vegas and Reno and mainly caters to truckers or people who might not be completely frightened by clowns. What might seem like a horror writer's dream is actually within close proximity to another creepy cemetery of the miners who once inhabited the area. This was even featured on an episode of Ghost Hunters because the people experience supernatural events here, and they think the cemetery haunts the people at the motel. Inside the motel, you'll notice tons of clown figurines, and even this clown plaque on the door as you enter the room, but only if you dare. Number 10. Atari Video Game Stash. In southeastern New Mexico, Atari filled up a landfill full of their game cartridges from the 80s, including games like E.T., Asteroids, Warlords, and Centipede. These games didn't succeed, and Atari had to do something with them. Investigators were hired in an attempt to find the games, and in 2014, the games were finally uncovered in the landfill near the Atari factory after months of planning and investigating. They spent $50,000 on this project and were able to find over 900 copies. The games sold on eBay like hotcakes, and even the Smithsonian was interested in some copies. Number 9. The Mojave Desert Phone Booth. Is there something that just seems a little bit creepy about a phone booth, far away from civilization and in the middle of the desert? This phone booth was installed in the 1960s and was actually 8 miles away from the nearest paved road. It was meant to service miners in the area and also for anyone who might be lost in the desert. In 1997, it became an internet sensation and a popular hiking destination. It starts getting a little bit creepy when one guy, John Galona, started camping out by the phone and claimed that he was instructed by God to answer the calls. He spent 32 days camped out by the phone and answered 500 calls, even one from the Pentagon. Located within the desert of eastern Texas near Amarillo, Chip Lord Hudson Marquez and Doug Michaels buried 10 vintage Cadillacs nose down in the name of art. Despite many of them being graffitied, it seems as though the people of this town really appreciate the random art installation, almost like a modern-day Stonehenge in a sense. Number 7. The Petrified Forest. Would you believe there's actually an entire forest of fossilized trees in Arizona? This modern-day desert was covered in logs that were naturally transported by a river of now extinct trees on the continent of Pangea. Each of these large rocks that are formed on the ground are actually fossils from the late Triassic Period about 225 million years ago. They went through a process known as petrification, when their living cells were filled with minerals like silica and quartz, which helped the wood retain much of its original form. It's believed that some of these trees were actually over 200 feet tall when they were alive. Number 6. Abandoned Prada store. This fancy designer shop was set up right in the middle of a desolate area in western Texas. This was actually a permanent art installation and not a random place to do shopping. Scandinavian artists funded the project and wanted to see how the store would look after spending a long period of time in the middle of the desert. The installation was quickly robbed of all the designer products like you can imagine, only within a few days after it was installed. The store was quickly repaired with stronger windows to prevent theft of the handbags, as well as the shoes inside. Number 5. Flintstones Bedrock City. Ever wish you could be a part of a cartoon sometimes and see what it would look like in reality? The designers of the Flintstone theme attraction park had the same idea in mind, but it didn't turn out to be quite as popular as they'd hoped. This is located in the middle of the desert northwest of Flagstaff, Arizona, and it's delightfully creepy. It was abandoned for quite some time, but it looks like it's recently been slightly renovated, with addition to the slide of a dinosaur's tail. The people driving by can usually get outside their car and experience it for themselves. Here we see Wilma Flintstone standing outside her Paleolithic house at this unique theme park. Number 4. Utah Evaporation Pools. If you were hiking through the Utah desert, you might have thought you were slightly hallucinating when you came across these evaporation ponds. However, you certainly would not want to take a swim here because the waters actually contain salts with potassium. The pond provides a brilliant blue light in contrast with the barren Moab desert that surrounds them. When the sun evaporates the pond, what's left over are potassium crystals, which are then sold. The different shades of blue are actually due to how much of the water had evaporated from these man-made ponds. Cobalt blue dye is then added to the water in order to help it capture more sunlight, thus evaporating quicker. Number 3. Death Valley Castle. What's a huge castle doing in the middle of the desert and possibly the hottest place on Earth? Scotty's Castle is a 2-story Spanish mission-style villa located in northern Death Valley. It was known as Scotty's Castle, and it was built by Albert E. Johnson, who was convinced by Walter Scott that there was possibly gold somewhere in Death Valley. The claim turned out to be false, however the two managed to become good friends anyways. The mansion went unfinished due to the stock market crash in 1929, but tours are available for those who are intrigued by this place. Number 2. Titan Missile Museum. Where else in the US can you visit a 9-ton nuclear warhead? Okay, so the real one was moved in order for it to become a museum. They did replace it with a missile that was used for training exercises, and it looks quite real. This is the only megaton missile silo that's actually open to the public from the Cold War, and it offers a truly mysterious experience for those who want to visit it. It's hidden away in the vast Arizona desert, but was decommissioned in 1982 by Ronald Reagan. People can visit the living quarters of the crew, who were ready to bring on apocalypse if asked to do so. You can also spend the night here for the right price. Don't forget to check out the keyhole, where people would have turned the key for it to be launched. And number 1. Oldest North American petroglyphs. The petroglyphs found in the northern Nevada desert is home to North America's oldest known petroglyphs that are believed to date back to at least 5,600 BC, but some can be as old as 14,000 years. That predates the pyramids by at least 3,000 years. The rock art is extremely fragile, and efforts are being made to protect them. Some of them depict geometric patterns, while others depict a spear and an antelope. Who were the ancient people who left this prehistoric artwork, and what were they trying to convey?